Chris has been studying, restoring, and colouring the photographs from the Holtermann Collection for over 2 decades. However, the comment is often made that by adding colour is a desecration or a somewhat vandalisation of these beautiful old photos. And while he can see the argument for this, and no one appreciates these stunning images in their raw format more than Chris, he also points out the fact that if the photographer would have had the option of using colour film over black and white more than 150 years ago, then the decision would probably be pretty clear. Crystal clear. And as these images are indeed grayscale, or black and white, most of the observer's attention is immediately drawn to the central focal point of the photograph, leaving the surrounding details lost in a tangled web of miscellaneous black and white shapes that the human brain has no time to process, before then usually losing interest altogether. And while it is easy to opt for the one-click AI button colouring method, Chris is otherwise committed to his self-taught technique, which involves hours, if not days, and sometimes even months, meticulously colouring each individual detail of the photograph, piece by piece. By using this method, no single speck is left untouched. And it's amazing, the things he sees.
Golgong, 1872. Golgong is being rapidly improved in its general appearance. This comes about not only in the superior kind of dwellings and houses of business, but in the alterations that are made by straightening lines and smoothing corners. Queen Street is now very compact and almost uninterruptedly elegant for nearly 3/4 of a mile.
It is believed that between 1872 and 1875 alone, 12,240 kilograms, or about 431,000 ounces of gold, was taken out of the Golgong goldfields. As of 2025, that is equivalent to about $2,755,000,000. During this period, 1872 to 1875, Golgong rapidly grew into a boom town. However, not everyone was making money from mining for gold. With the influx of men and their families into the town, also came the need to support the now thriving gold mining industry. So was the need for everyday basic commodities, that the streets were soon lined with commerce, and there was now less than inches between these businesses as they stood shoulder to shoulder as far as the eye could see. As these businesses grew, so too were the means to advertise and promote their wares. Some carried out ads in newspapers, while others plastered posters around town. But there was one thing that they all needed. Enter the sign writer. During its heyday, there were at least 5 signwriters actively working in Golgong, and at least one who seemed to have had a monopoly on business in the nearby town of Home Rule. And how do we know there was 6? Well, this is revealed in the first of the things you see. Chris has analysed every photograph featuring the business signs relating to Golgong and was able to identify the various painters. And as with all good art, the artist will usually leave their mark. And if you look closely, you will see their trademarks. Beginning with the first of these artists was the extremely talented team of Hood and Hull. Their flair for added graphics was their trademark, as seen in this colorised image of Green's Hairdresser Saloon. The shop was located almost directly next door to the Prince of Wales Opera House near the corner of Main, then known as Queen, and Herbert Street. Following on was the equally talented Valentine, whose signs are easily distinguished from the others. What made Valentine's signs so recognisable was his attention to detail, as also seen in his artistic signature. Valentine's attention to detail sometimes emphasised the business by adding artwork according to the merchant, as seen here on James Leggett's butcher shop on Main Street. This is William Lewis's undertaker shop on the corner of Herbert and Belmore Street, now the site of the Golgong RSL. And although this sign adorning it is not signed, it is undoubtedly the work of Valentine. Others were Cooper, who also sometimes utilised the services of Hood, where his traditional standard block style can be seen here on the Hunter Company sign. John Hunter's Boot and Shoe Bazaar was a corner store and occupied both Herbert and Main Streets. And it is apparent that there was no loyalty when it came to the choice of signwriters, as Valentine's elaborate signature can also be seen on the Main Street frontage of the store. This is the corner of Herbert and Main Street, which is now at the crossroads of the central business part of town. And in 1872, this also would have been the case. This piece of prime real estate was occupied by S.H. Barnes' Mudgee Drug Store, and the honour of having his work on display at this location was a writer only known as Collis. Hood and Hull, Cooper, Valentine and Collis were 4 of the 5 known signwriters to have been the most prolific and most talented to have left their mark all over Golgong during the gold rush of the early 1870s. However, there was one that was less prolific and probably less talented than the others, and his name was John Osborne. In fact, while the preceding 4 signwriters share the bulk of these many, many signs, Osborne's signature is only found on 4 of them. Dr. John Pericles's chemist and consulting rooms on Herbert Street. The tobacconists of an unknown trader, which was once located directly opposite to where the current Golgong IGA supermarket now stands. And the Australian joint, Stock Bank. But while his very basic, almost amateurish style lacked the flair of his competition, he can, however, take credit for one of the most iconic signs in Golgong. And while the sign might be different now, the pub that it was painted on still stands today and immediately recognised as the Centennial Hotel, or affectionately known by locals as the Senny. Once again, while John Osborne's signs are rare in the Holtermann Collection in comparison to the others, there is, however, one image that sets him aside from the rest of the signwriters. And if you have ever taken a stroll through the Holtermann Museum in Golgong, you would have possibly seen this picture. This is John H. Osborne, seated reading the paper in the sun, in front of his signwriting shop in the winter of 1872. And it's not until Chris has spent many hours painstakingly analysing every minuscule detail in order to colorise it that it's then the things you see. As mentioned in the introduction to this film, the human brain has no time to process the mishmash of black and white shapes surrounding the central focal point of these photographs. But by adding colour and removing the blemishes of over 150 years of wear and tear, therefore preserving the original details, a moment in time is suddenly revealed to the modern world. Can you see the 3 bottles or even an angel in this photo? A rusty old bucket and a paint pot can be found tucked away behind the base of the ladder. John Osborne also supplied decorative wallpaper. However, while these examples are on display in plain view, it's not until they are studied and coloured that the miscellaneous shapes are revealed as highly detailed graphics. It's difficult to know if this was the scene as Merlin the photographer just happened to pass by on a sunny day, or if it was carefully orchestrated, as it appears that everything relating to John's trade is perfectly placed as a display and not so much as a random scene. These paint drums appear to be very well organised in a straight line, ending with a crate with a rope handle which may have been used for gathering and transporting equipment, such as brushes, paint, and drop sheets. In almost every example of photography during this period, the man of the house, or in this case, the head of the business, is usually the person to be seated, leaving little doubt that John H. Osborne is the man sitting on the chair, while the unknown gentleman loyally standing behind him may have been an assistant. And by now, you have probably noted the reference to the numeral 2 and the relevance of it. The number appears on his ladder, and of course it can't be missed on the crude and unfinished sign on the hut. But what was its significance? If you recall back to Osborne's sign adorning Dr. Pericles' medical hall, and squint really hard, you will see John Osborne's moniker, or logo, which includes a crudely drawn painter's palette with 3 paintbrushes crossing through, his initials J, H, O, and again, the number 2. The photo that appears in the Golgong Holtermann Museum is titled J. H. Osborne, painter and sign writer, Golgong. However, subsequent research can reveal that Osborne's building was actually located at the sparsely populated northern end of town, at number 2 Medley Street.
Many thanks, Mr. Osborne, for your time. You may now return to your newspaper.